Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. Today I wanted to do a video on a vision that I was given this morning about where so many of us are at right now in our shift and transition into a higher dimensional space. My guides, these beautiful beings of light that I work with, gave me this really beautiful description of what's happening with all of us right now. And so again, like I say in so many of my videos, if this resonates with you, great. And if not, then just turn it off. And maybe there will be a time where you'll come back and listen to it and it will resonate with you. But what's happening with a lot of us right now is we are in this space of feeling stuck, maybe frustrated. Things are going too slow. Things are not happening fast enough. I'm missing out on things. I'm not doing it right. I'm still in situations or experiences that I don't want to be in. I'm not connecting or aligned with my higher self or these supposed guides that are around me. I can't hear them. I can't feel them. I can't see them. I am watching all these other people around me or on video or on social media that are connecting to opening up their pineal gland and opening up their third eye and seeing all these beautiful things and experiencing all these things within them. And I'm not, and it's not happening, so I must be missing out, right? So many of us are feeling that way, really alone, lonely, and we've been in this space for quite some time, some of us. What happened in 2018, what I'm going to give you guys is a understanding, sort of like a vision so that you can understand it more. So these visions are not actually what's happening. We're not actually walking over this bridge that I'm going to talk about, but it's a really good way to be able to understand and visualize, conceptualize what's happening to us. Because what we forget is that we're energetic beings that have agreed and volunteered happily, joyously, courageously to be here now in this physical form, to move through this very physical, very tangible, electrical shift, right? Energetic shift. We just forgot. And so when we're in this field of density, we are forgetting that we actually are quite lucky to be able to experience consciousness shifting in a physical form. Now, I absolutely understand how telling somebody that's going through major struggle or pains, emotional distress, unhappiness, trying to tell that human being, hey, guess what? You volunteered to be here, and this is actually a beautiful thing for you. And by the way, you're divine and beautiful and loving, and you're perfect just the way you are. That only works for so long, right? And then you come back down into this consciousness that you're in. We can't escape this, right? And so the more of these visions that we can hold as to what's happening, we can begin to remember over and over again as we are shifting and as we are in the turmoil and the stress and the anxiety and the worry and the feeling as if you're completely disconnected, that you've done something wrong. How much can we begin to remember that this is part of the matrix we're in? This is part of it, right? This feeling of not enough, this feeling of being disconnected, this feeling of losing or missing out, this feeling of I'm not doing it and everybody else is doing it. All these things that are very human, very third dimensional, is just part of the experience of shifting. It's just part of it. There is no good or bad, right or wrong about it. Understanding neutrality in this, understanding that everything is neutral. Meaning, can you start to look at your experience that you're going through right now? Millions of us are not where we want to be necessarily, right? In certain aspects of our life. Meaning, there's certain people that are going to be watching this that are very happy in many different areas, and yet they're not connected in the way they want. They're not aligned in the way they want, right? They're not doing their purpose work. And there may be many people that are doing their purpose work, aligned, and yet not quite happy yet with the relationship they have, the partnership they have, where they're living, those kinds of things, right? So we all are moving through our own process of shifting. But can we begin to watch what we are moving through as divine, as perfect, as an absolute necessity? And I'm going to share with you how to do that. How do we start to look at what we're going through that we don't like, the emotions that are coming up, the thoughts that are coming up, the feelings that are coming up, the physical sensations that are coming up, the disconnect, all these things that we can't control that are part of the process of ascending into a higher dimensional space? How can we begin to see it and understand it from a bigger perspective, meaning stepping outside and seeing yourself shifting? Imagining that you are, because you are, the light being that came down into your physical form to enjoy, participate, experience, understand what it's like to be a light form shifting in a physical form. Right? That is the number one reason why we all came down here. Now, there's many volunteers, light workers, starseeds that have very, very potent and powerful work that they're here to do. But beyond that, we all came in to participate in what it is like to remember, what it is like to forget, only to remember who we are, and in that remembrance, watch ourselves shift, literally, physically shift frequencies. It's never been done before in such a dense form. What we are doing is miraculous, you guys. And we forget that because we're in this this haze, this conscious haze that is dense, dense, dense. You can't get much denser than where we are. And so to remember that we are an energetic being that is shifting frequencies inside a form. Now, what typically happens in higher dimensional spaces, let's just say you have decided to be an Arcturian in one of your existences in consciousness. And when you're done being an Arcturian doesn't necessarily choose to try to move into a higher dimensional space within their own field. What an Arcturian will do is will just instantaneously move into a different dimension to experience that dimension. Okay? Because they are vibrating at a higher rate, they just shift into whatever they want to experience next. It just happens. Boom. They're an Arcturian in a 9th dimensional field, and they want to shift and experience a different consciousness that's at a 25th dimensional field, or even an 11th dimensional field. And just through intention and design, they shift. They are no longer in an Arcturian sort of consciousness. They're now in, let's say, Lyran consciousness, okay? This is just an example. So consciousness typically doesn't stay within the form they're in and shift. What a consciousness typically does is take themselves out of that consciousness and move into another consciousness. What we are doing as human beings is a miracle. We are taking light within the physical form, staying inside that physical form, and shifting the light inside that physical form into a higher frequency and consciousness to move into another dimension in our physical form. It's insane. So if you're going nuts, great, you're doing it. If you're going crazy, awesome, you're doing it. If you think you're nuts and crazy, great, you're doing it. If you feel like you're not doing it right, that you're alone, that you're discontented, that you're unhappy, that you've got these emotions you don't want to feel, that you've got these thoughts you don't want to have, fabulous. That's exactly right. That's perfect. What happens is, as we start to become aware of what's going on with us, we start comparing ourselves. And we start listening to all these other people that are talking about, how they're able to, do all this amazing spiritual stuff, right? And they're just on a different trajectory, right? Their energy and frequency within their own physical form is participating in this process differently than millions of us. And there will be a time and a place where we all will be experiencing what these people are talking about, right? We just aren't there yet. And this is a very human process. This is a very embodied process, and you don't want to miss out. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to watch this and say, I want to miss out. I don't want to miss. I would like to miss out on being uncomfortable. I would like to miss out on being miserable and depressed and lonely and scared and anxious and all the other stuff that's happening to me. I would like to bypass that. And we can't. If you really want to do this accurately, so to speak, meaning that you don't want to bypass what it is that you have to do in order to get to this fourth dimensional field matrix, we have to move through everything that's coming up. So in 2018, this is what happened. And this is what's happening right now. I want you guys to imagine, I've spoken about this before. This is the best way for me to sort of visualize a matrix or a dimension. I like to see it as a cloud of consciousness, right? So we've got this cloud of consciousness that is a third dimension, which we have been in for thousands of years, and the earth has been in. Now, the earth has shifted, so has the human. You know, there are many different, I'm not going to go into the different timelines that we could jump into, and that the earth is already at a fifth dimensional frequency, earth is already at a seventh dimensional frequency. That doesn't help us in this now moment. So I'm not going to talk about, yes, the earth has already shifted into all these other dimensions, and so has humanity, right? If you want to go quantum and start to really understand what's going on, it would blow your mind, and it would really be a disservice, because you wouldn't be able to look at your now moment and deal with the now moment. Sometimes when we go quantum and we really start to understand that everything is happening right now, that's a great knowingness, but it doesn't help us in this now moment, because you can't jump into another timeline until you're vibrating at that timeline, right? And the only way you can vibrate at that timeline is really consciously understanding where you're at right now and how energy and consciousness works. So the earth and humanity have been vibrating at a third dimensional consciousness for a very long time. What happened at the end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019 is that a fourth dimensional consciousness kind of appeared, popped up, and became available, because we shifted our frequency and the earth's frequency to a stable, I like to say number, but it's not, a stable frequency that resonated in a fourth dimension. Might have to rewind that and listen to it again. We've shifted, humans and earth shifted their own frequencies to a stable space where the earth and humanity can now hold a fourth dimensional consciousness. Another cloud. So there's a third dimensional cloud, a fourth dimensional cloud, and there is a fifth dimensional cloud, but very few have been able to actually move into it permanently. Okay? And there are many that are living in a fourth dimensional consciousness right now permanently. Many of us are not living in that fourth dimensional consciousness permanently. And what's happened in 2018, we are permanently in a third dimensional consciousness. So you've got the third dimensional cloud of consciousness matrix, fourth dimensional cloud consciousness matrix, fifth dimensional cloud consciousness matrix, okay? There's sixth and seventh for the earth plane, but we're not going to go there. Again, we're staying with where we're at. Let's do something that we can actually work with, right? 2018 and before that, right, for many, many years, what started to happen is we would go from this third dimensional consciousness as we started integrating and aligning with more light and photons and solar codes, light codes that were coming in from the sun. We started shifting. We started slowly moving our vibration up, and we would start to tap into this fourth dimensional consciousness. Many people, well, I won't go into that, but there is a big difference between a fourth and a fifth dimensional consciousness. And I think many people have been experiencing a fourth dimensional consciousness thinking it was a fifth. Not a big deal, but most people are in this fourth dimensional field. So what happened, and big time in 2018, is we started doing this, boom, going back and forth, back and forth. So what you were feeling was huge amounts of heaviness and then huge highs. and then huge heavinesses and huge highs, right? And depending upon what frequency you were holding, you were able to hold that fourth dimensional kind of high for maybe a day or 2 or 3, aligned with the higher self, really feeling secure in where you were going, completely in this flow state, feeling this oneness, right? You were able to really recognize that there is an actual oneness in everything. Knowing and recognizing that you are a being inside of physical form, right? You're participating here. You aren't just the physical form. Really beginning to understand present moment, watching time start to just disappear. All of a sudden you'll be like, I don't even know what happened to time. Feeling complete bliss, joy, love, freedom, regardless of what's going on outside of you. Some of you would make drastic kind of life changes in this space, and then you'd find yourself back in the third dimension saying, oh my God, what did I do, right? So some of us would stay in this for a day, maybe a couple hours, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, right? And then we would drop back down, and then we would drop back up. So it was like a jumping back and forth. In 2019, this consciousness became more available, meaning there were more of us on the earth plane that were now capable of moving and stepping into this fourth dimensional cloud. This is really great news. You're sitting here watching saying, well, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling this over here. Exactly. Because what's happening right now is there is a bridge that we are walking over. This is the beautiful visual vision that they gave me. We're no longer jumping back as quickly as we did, right? So we're not getting these big highs and these big lows, right? If you're noticing what's happening to you right now, it's sort of like you're either in this fourth dimension concreted down, or you're in this pause. And the pause is the bridge. And what's happening is, as you're starting to step onto this bridge, moving out of a third dimensional consciousness, all of the excess, dense energy, consciousness that's inside of you, the emotional, mental, physical consciousness that's inside of you that you haven't completely discarded or released in the past year, 2 or 3, as you start walking over that bridge, you're not being pulled back down into these denser consciousnesses, but you can imagine as if the consciousnesses that are within you that are dense, denser than a fourth dimensional field, are continuing to be released and pulled down. And what happens when we're in this bridge, right, as a conscious light being, is it's almost as if we're feeling nothing. It's kind of like, well, I don't feel completely connected to my higher self and my guides. I don't feel super dense and in this third dimensional matrix, so to speak. I don't really know what I'm doing, right? I don't really know what's going on. I'm not going up and down anymore, but I do know that I'm still releasing stuff. I do know that I'm still feeling things come up. I know that there are still core issues, wounds, agreements that I came into that are still asking to be released, right? And so what's happening is we are moving over this bridge, so to speak, and you can almost visualize this denser consciousness being pulled back down into this cloud as you start walking, clearing yourself completely, so that when you finally move into this fourth dimensional field or matrix, matrix isn't a bad word, by the way. There's nothing wrong with a matrix. We have to have matrices around us. That's how we stay kind of in design, so to speak. It's just how consciousness is. We just use the term matrix. That's just the human term that somehow got thrown around, and that's just sort of what we use. And it's got this weird energy to it when you say matrix, almost as if you're stuck in it. But there's a matrix in the fifth dimension. There's a matrix in this. Every consciousness has a quote unquote matrix. It's not bad. It's a field. If you called it a field, it would be much easier to accept. Third dimensional field, fourth dimensional field, fifth dimensional field, right? That feels better. It feels like we're not stuck, like somebody's not doing something to us. We're not being programmed or corrupted, right? All of that is a very third dimensional paradigm, many paradigms that we are being programmed, that we are being manipulated. Sure, that's a program that resides in that third dimensional field. You can buy into it or not, or you can just start walking over the bridge and saying, I'm not going to believe in that paradigm, consciousness that resides. There's thousands and thousands of consciousnesses that reside in a third dimensional matrix or third dimensional field. And you can choose and pick what paradigm, what consciousness do you want to hold? What consciousness do I want to buy into? Sure, it's happening in that matrix, in that field, but you have a choice as to whether you want to participate in that or not. You have free will. So if you want to buy into the idea that humans are being programmed and coerced and manipulated by off-planet beings or whatever it is, on-planet lizard beings, whatever it is that they're telling you, I don't even know why I'm telling this right now, but somebody needs to hear this. That's a consciousness. Sure, there's people that are probably being manipulated and programmed. If they buy into that consciousness, if they say, yeah, I'll take that consciousness into my field, yep, I'll take that one. Nobody does anything to you. Nobody. You have choices. So please remember this. You have a choice in every single moment. In every now moment, you have a choice as to what you're going to pull into your field. Every moment, you choose, what do I want to pull into my field? What is this person talking about? What is this person sharing? And do I want to bring that consciousness into my field? My field is my energetic field. It goes out 1.5 feet. It's around me. It's my sovereign space. And I get to choose what I want to bring in. There's many things happening on this earth plane right now in a third dimensional consciousness that I don't pull into my field. I don't believe it. And I don't care how many millions of people do believe it. I don't, right? And I won't pull it into my field, and it won't exist in my reality, and I won't be impacted by it. When you start to recognize that power, you begin to realize all the different consciousnesses that you can choose to participate in this matrix. And it's the same in a fourth dimensional matrix, right? There's consciousnesses that you can pull in and choose to experience. They're not as dense, so they're not as dark, but you're always choosing. We are creator beings. As we shift into higher states of consciousness, we start to recognize and remember that we are creator beings. What does that mean? Think about the Octurian I talked about earlier. The Octurian chose in a ninth dimensional frequency. They're done being in that consciousness. I experienced this ninth dimensional consciousness, surrounded by this Octurian collective consciousness. I'm ready to move on and experience something else. I'm going to move into an 11th dimensional consciousness. Boom. Just like that, instantaneously, your energy, your consciousness that you are shifts. Right? Free will, choice, boom, there you go. We're just doing it at a lot slower pace because we are very slow, dense beings right now. We have decided to experience consciousness at a very slow pace, at a very dense space. You can't get any slower. If you got slower, you really wouldn't exist. It'd be very challenging. So remembering that, and remembering that we are not these, we are experiencing this consciousness. So there is an aspect of us that is this consciousness, and we are not this consciousness at the same time. We are vibrating at a higher frequency within us, the light body that we are. We also have a spark of source within us, right? That God source within us. There's a lot of aspects that we hold within our physical form, believe it or not. And so this is just one minuscule aspect of who you are, and participating and experiencing this miraculous shift. So back to the bridge. I don't know why I got off track with this, with the different consciousnesses, but it is an important piece. So what happens with the human in a third dimensional consciousness is that we are herded like cows, right? We just go with what anyone tells us. If somebody tells us something, we sort of just start to believe it. And if millions of people believe it, we tend to believe it more, right? And we don't question, we don't ask ourselves, do I want to believe this? That's the question you should ask yourself. Do I want to believe this? So many millions of light workers who have been on the earth plane for millions, thousands of years, and have had hundreds of lifetimes, don't like to open up their crown chakra because it is extremely vulnerable. And there are many, many lifetimes where they have been injured, hurt, tortured, killed by opening the crown and allowing themselves to begin to access higher frequencies and dimensions, higher beings, their own higher aspect of themselves. And so when the human as a light worker would do that, there would be, because the density was so low, if they decided to start doing that, because they started to remember who they were in that lifetime to do the work that they were here to do, they would get persecuted, tortured, murdered, killed, whatever, horrible things. When the human comes down in this lifetime and starts to recognize, oh, I got to open up my crown in order for me to do anything on this earth, in order to shift, in order to move over that bridge, you got to open up the crown. Because the crown is the access point for the energy and frequency to come in. Now, you can feel it on the outside through the energetic field, right? You're going to bump into it like a bumper car. But in order for your channel to receive the information that's around you, the guides, your higher self, the I am presence, right? These aspects of you and these beings that are here to support you, as well as your own aligned knowingness and state of sort of openness and expansion and like, I'm open, I'm ready, let's go. You have to open up the crown. And so there are millions of people that don't believe opening up the crown is safe. There's many teachers that say opening up the crown isn't safe. And my question to you is that something you want to choose to bring into your reality? It's a choice. Because there are millions of people that have their crown open all the time, including myself, and nothing horrible happens to me. No bad energies come into me. Why? Because I'm choosing to hold that reality. We forget that we are creator beings with choice. That's all it is. It's choice. It's choice. What are you choosing to believe in? Right? So, that was a side note. Somebody needed to hear that. Probably many of us needed to hear that, right? What are we choosing? What are we pulling in? It's different than changing your thoughts, right? Because if you can become aware of what you are saying yes to, yes, I believe that, yes, but to change your thoughts, so that there's a difference between allowing the thoughts and the beliefs that no longer serve you to move through, and allowing yourself to not get spiraled into the thoughts, spiraled into the negative thinking, so to speak, right? So what you want to do, this is another side note, is when you changing your thoughts is good and bad. If you are spiraling in certain beliefs and certain thoughts and certain ideas about yourself, spiraling meaning you're on this hamster wheel, right? And you're focused on it, you're thinking about it, you're looking at it, you're breathing it, you're eating it, you're just diving into it, right? You don't want to do that. That's when those teachings about changing your thought make sense. Because what's happening is you're getting into this spiral. You're on the hamster wheel and all you're doing is thinking the negative thoughts, I'm not worthy, I can't do anything, I'm not worthy. Now, those thoughts are coming up because they need to clear. Again, you're going over the bridge, right? And these dense consciousnesses can't be held in a fourth dimensional field, so they have to be released. So as you're going over the bridge, here it comes, I'm not worthy. Now, what you want to do is you want to look at that, I'm not worthy. You want to say hello to it, almost like you're introducing yourself back to this I'm not worthy that's been coming up 1,007,000,000,000 times, right? Here it is again. But instead of focusing in on it and letting it kind of consume you and control you, you look at it and you say, oh, here it is again. This is what it feels like. And you just watch it, and that's it. So watching it and allowing it to move through you is very different than grabbing onto it, holding it tight, and really being with it. Like, I'm going to move with this on this hamster wheel. I'm unworthy. Where did this come from? Where did this stem from? Who told me I was like this? How long do I need to sit with this? let me dive even deeper into the core of this, right? You're in the hamster wheel. I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy. The more you dive into it, I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy, the more you're just going to sit in it. So it's not that you want to necessarily change the thought, right? So that was a really good exercise for people. I'm sure it works for a lot of people, because what it does is when you're saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, then you change the thought and you say, I am worthy. And that changing the thought kind of pulls you out. But there's a much easier way to do it, because sometimes we don't believe I'm worthy. We don't believe that, right? Because we're in the hamster wheel of I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. And so when we step out to say I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, what it's trying to do, the exercise that's trying to do is pull you out of that hamster wheel. But a lot of times we don't believe what we're telling ourselves. So all that's going to happen is this is going to keep going over here. You're trying to pull yourself out over here, right? As much as you can. There's a huge amount of effort in doing this, by the way. It's exhausting, right? And eventually you're going to find yourself back in here if you don't believe this. So changing your thoughts and changing the way you view things can help in a second, can help in a minute, can help in a couple hours, maybe. But if you don't believe this, and what do I mean when I say believe this? If you don't hold and vibrate at the same consciousness as this, then you're going to fall right back into this hamster wheel when it comes up again, right? And I'm sure there's millions of us that have done that. We've done those exercises. We've changed our thoughts as much as we can. We've tried to change our thoughts as much as we can. And we aren't there yet. We can't hold this consciousness yet that I am worthy. So what you do is, instead of diving into the hamster wheel and playing with I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, you watch I'm not worthy come in, you listen to it as if it's a person walking into the room, right? If you saw a person walk into the room that was saying all this negative stuff to you, you would look at it and acknowledge it. You would see it and say, oh God, look at what it's saying. It's not fun. You would not stand up and go stand directly in front of it and say, give me more. I want to hear it. Keep going. Yep. Keep going. Yep. Okay. More. What else do you have for me? What other horrible things can you say? Yep. Keep going. That's playing in the hamster wheel. Instead, what you would do is you'd stand up, see it, say hello, thank you so much, and then you'd go about your day. You'd cook your dinner, you'd eat your food, you'd do your homework, you'd get in your car. That human, let's just call I'm not worthy as a human, that human would still be there, It would still just be doing its thing over on the side of the house, so outside of the room, wherever it is, but you're not engaging with it. You're not jumping in front of it. You're also not trying to get out of the room that you're supposed to be in by changing your thoughts, right? So if you were to say, okay, that thing isn't there anymore. That thing's not there. I'm going to bring in another human that's going to tell me all these amazing things. I'm going to bring in a human that's going to tell me all these amazing things. By doing that, you're still engaging with this being, this I'm not worthy being that's standing there. Because what you're trying to do is separate yourself from it by pulling something else in to distract you from it. Does that make sense? So in that distraction, there's an energy that you're trying to get away from, and there's an energy you're trying to attach to, and it's exhausting. I mean, how many times have you tried to change your thoughts on things, and it's freaking exhausting? It's like exercises that you're just like, I can't do it. Mantras over and over and over again. Granted, they work. Right? They will work. They do work. People have had massive changes. I personally don't resonate with them because this is how I see it. I see it as I'm not worthy comes in, or let's just use an example of something else. I don't deserve to be loved. Here comes I don't deserve to be loved standing in the room. And all of a sudden you look up and here's this, guess what? You're not worthy of being loved. You don't deserve to be loved. You're going to be alone your entire life. Whatever it is, this human I don't deserve to be loved is, right? And instead of standing in front of it and going through the back and forth in the hamster wheel, instead of pulling in another human that's going to say, you're worthy of love, you're worthy of love, you're worthy of love, because in doing that, I'm going to have to hold that over and over and over again. Innately, I know I'm worthy of love. I know what this is telling me. I'm not stupid, right? I don't need some other human to come in and remind me of what I already know. That just takes a lot of effort. So what I do is I get up and I allow this part of me to say what it wants to say wherever it is. I don't engage in it, and I know that it's moving through me. I know that it's moving through me. So I just go about my day and start making my dinner. Maybe I'll write on my computer, do whatever it is that I'm going to do while this voice slowly subsides. I know, you know, when you have a unhealthy thought or belief, you are smart enough to know what it is it's telling you. You're not stupid, right? So you can play the game of bringing in another quote unquote human that's going to tell you the opposite of that. Or you can just trust that this aspect is dissolving as you're moving over the bridge, and you can allow that to just be. Because what's happening, you guys, regardless of what sort of mantras you say, regardless of how you change your thoughts, regardless of all the techniques that we're taught, you're walking over the bridge. Here's the bridge, here's the fourth, here's the third. You're moving towards it regardless of what situation you find yourself in, what human aspect pops into your room. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You're still moving over that bridge. You're still moving over that bridge. And you can do any sort of techniques you want to make it easier for you as you're walking over the bridge, but it's not going to get you past the bridge faster. It's all energy. You can't. Now, you can assist energy healing, okay? So yes, there's going to be people that are saying, well, what about Reiki and what about energy healers? Yes, they assist for sure. But the human, again, coming back to the human has choice. The human has to do the processing. The human has to do the movement. The human has to allow it to clear through. The human has to go consciously through the process. So the best and easiest way I find in moving over this bridge, wherever I find myself, because there are days where I am not happy, days where I'm happy. There's days where I am feeling in a better space, and there's days where I'm just like exhausted and want to sleep, right? What I do in any of my now moments is I don't judge it, and I just allow it to be. Just allow it to be. And that's the challenging piece for us, is to not judge, is to, how can I stay in neutrality with all of this? How can I watch these things come up? How can I feel like I'm not doing my purpose work? How can I feel depression, anxiety, worry, stress? How can I be in that space and somehow very slowly start to pull myself out of that space, out of the hamster, and say, this is divine. This is perfect. This is how it is supposed to be. Anything that you find yourself in right now, a person, a place, an event, an experience, a job, it's perfect, as frustrating and annoying as that is to hear. And it doesn't stay. Nothing is stagnant and nothing stays, even if you feel like your life is stagnant. I am telling you, if I could form myself into a star being or a light being and allow you to really hear this message, it's all perfect. And there are millions of us that are light workers, that have been doing light work for thousands of years. And as you start to awaken again into who you are, there is an innate cellular aspect of you that knows you're supposed to be doing your work. And for millions of you, your work is to just be on the planet, feeling the physical conscious shift, because you've done so much work in the past. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't be where we are right now, talking about a fourth dimensional consciousness that we are about to bridge ourselves into. So many of you are wondering, stressing out, worrying, having anxiety over, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Because who you are as a being of light has always done work. and you're tapping into that. And you find yourself awakening in the most amazing time on the earth plane. Finally, we're able to really tangibly feel this shift. And you're in it. And you're saying, hello, I'm a light worker. I'm a worker. I'm a worker bee. I'm supposed to be doing something. What's going on? Why am I not doing something? And it's a lot of energy. And you beat yourself up. And you get angry. And you get upset. And you judge. And you're looking and comparing. And if you could just hear from your guides, from your star families, from your galactic families, from your higher self, that it's exactly how you designed it. Meaning, how you are awakening, how you are remembering yourself, and what you think or don't think you're supposed to be doing on this earth plane doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when the curtain closes and the earth has moved into that 5th dimensional consciousness and eventually 7th, and you've been on this, watching it, participating, being in it, shifting it, you're not going to sit back and say, oh, remember that lifetime in 2015 when I was wondering what I was supposed to do and why I wasn't doing my work? You're not going to wonder about that. You're not going to worry about that. You're going to be looking at this entire experiment and experience as one big miracle, as one big playground of consciousness that you got to be in. What happens is we get so caught up in the paradigms and programming and the innateness within you that says I'm supposed to be working. But what I'm telling you, what your guides are going to tell you, what your higher self is telling you, is that it's okay that you're not doing anything right now because you've done enough in all your other lifetimes. And that if you can have patience, surrender into your now moment. Surrendering into your now moment allows the moments to shift faster. When we fight, resist, get angry, get upset, try to shift, try to change, try to control, that's when it slows the process down because the human aspect of us, our ego, is trying to control it, manipulate it, change it, maneuver it. If you just sit back and let whatever comes in, come in. Whatever struggle happens, let it move through. Discomfort, let it move through. Anger, let it move through. Just, unhappiness about your job, just let it be. Because you're shifting and moving no matter what. And you can remember that you're a creator being. You can choose a reality that you want. So if you're unhappy in the situation that you're in, and it's processing and moving and clearing through you as you're moving over that bridge, then become the creator being that you have designed yourself to be and begin to move towards and walk into a different reality. So if you are a light worker that is saying, what the freak am I here to do? I'm not doing anything. My suggestion or recommendation to you is 1, get into a space of neutrality. So whatever is in front of you, it just is. 2, be very gentle with yourself. 3, remember who you are. Remember all the lifetimes that you've lived preparing humanity and the earth to be in this space right now so we can walk over the bridge. 4, remember that it's in your cellular structure. It's in your DNA to be doing something. 5, remember that you didn't come down to do anything specific perhaps. That more than anything, you came down as a light being to finally be able to feel and experience consciousness shifting in the physical form. I'll say that again. This is the most important piece. You actually chose to come down into a physical form, many of you, to finally be able to see, to reap the benefits of all of your work, to reap the benefits of what it's going to feel like, which we're going through right now, of a consciousness in a physical form, shifting its frequency and dimension within that physical form. So the light doesn't leave and go into a different form. The light stays in the physical form and shifts within it. Miracle. Unbelievable miracle. And you chose to come down and come in one last time in this body to experience it and to feel it. And here you are. And you're a light worker, so you want to be doing work. And you absolutely, unequivocally can start to do work as well. You just have to let go of this desire and urge and need, like it's an absolute that has to happen. Let it go. Let it go. And start to ask daily, as you are moving through whatever it is that's in front of you, please show me how I can serve today. How can I serve today? How can I serve today? Show me how I can serve today. Please remember, you guys, that just by being here, you're serving. I know it doesn't help. I get it, but it is true. It really is. If these beings could come down right now and sit in front of me and push me out of the way, they would tell you that you're beautiful, that you're divine, that you're perfect, that you're courageous, that you are doing it no matter what it looks like when you look out into that matrix. It doesn't matter. You're doing it. That you've got support all around you. What they would say to you is, how much can you soften into every now moment? How much can you trust, as uncomfortable as it may be at times, that it's all exactly the way it is designed to be? And that just like I said, and they actually just said, just like Lori said, so they really are talking to you right now. You are all walking over that bridge. You're not missing the bridge. You're not going to jump off the bridge. You're not going to be blind and find yourself on some other freaky road or down in a ravine. I don't care where you are right now in your life. You're starting to walk over that bridge. And depending upon where you are in the process is where you are on that bridge. And there's many of us that are already grounded down into that fourth dimensional consciousness, meaning we're not going back and forth anymore. I'll do another video on what is it, how do you know you're in a fourth dimensional consciousness, completely grounded in. I can tell you that I'm not yet. I'm not going to lie. I'm not in a daily, constant, grounded fourth dimensional consciousness. I'm on the bridge. I still have things I'm clearing out. I'm not gonna lie. And I think it's a disservice. I'm just going to say it. I think it's a disservice for a lot of teachers and coaches and things to talk about spaces and places that we're going as if they're there, when in all reality, 99.5% of the humans are not there yet. There's too much consciousness that still is needing to be cleared out. What happens, though, is that the human is tapping into these higher dimensions. They're tapping into what it's like to be in these higher dimensions, and they're getting excited and elated and like, oh my God, this is who we are. This is what we can do, right? Oh my God, I want to tap into that more. It's like a drug. I want to tap into that more. I want to get into that more. How do I move into that more? And yet the physical form isn't ready. There's still density in that human. There's still density in that teacher. There's still density in that being, in that human that's sharing and talking and speaking. There's still density in the teacher, right? So that teacher is still having to move over the bridge. It's just that they have access to these other dimensions and fields and consciousnesses, and they're sharing it and they're teaching it to us. And what happens to us is we look and say, fudge, what did I do wrong? I'm not there. What did I do wrong? I can't feel that. Well, you're being authentic. You're being real. You're being honest. You're being conscious, and you're walking over the bridge. You're walking over the bridge. And I'll guarantee you, many people that are trying to jump into a fourth dimensional consciousness and their physical form isn't ready yet, they're going to be smacked down at some point in order to walk over the bridge, because the bridge is the last piece. That's the piece where you've been tapping into the fourth dimension over and over and over again. You know what it's like. You felt it, okay? And when I say you felt it, you felt aligned. You felt your higher self maybe every once in a while. You felt the feeling of being in a now moment every once in a while. You felt flow. You felt oneness every once in a while. You felt the connection that you have to your breath, to trees, to the earth. You felt your body vibrate. You felt your body be an energetic being. These are aspects of being in a fourth dimensional field, right? And what will eventually happen is the physical form will be ready to hold that vibration. And when the physical form is ready to hold that vibration, you will be planted, grounded, and deeply in that fourth dimensional field. What is happening to most of us is that we still have denser consciousness within us that need to dissolve and move out of the physical form. regardless of how often you've been tapping into this fourth dimensional field. There are many people that have been in this really high frequency state and dimension, holding this higher dimensional reality, teaching it to us and all these other things. And yet there is still consciousness that's not going to allow them to embody it completely because their physical form isn't ready. There is still denser consciousness in that physical form. So there can be a lot of denial around that, right? And pretend. But bravo to all of you that are watching this right now that are being authentic and real and honest and conscious as you walk over that bridge. Don't beat yourself up for being honest. Don't beat yourself up for being real. Don't beat yourself up for looking at what is coming through. This is the process. This is ascension. This bridge is the ascension. And then from the fourth into the fifth is a whole other bridge. So because we are at, I'll just finish this up quickly. Because we are at a low vibration, this happens slowly, you guys. There is no event that's going to all of a sudden happen where we're going to be catapulted into another dimension. It's not going to happen. Energy takes time to shift in a low vibration like us. Because if it were to happen instantaneously, we would literally blow up. It takes time. We have to prepare the physical form. Now remember, we're doing this in a physical form. We're not doing this in a higher vibrational speed where we can just shift into another dimension. We're doing this in a dense physical form. Just think about physics. We're doing this in a dense physical form, you guys. You can't have an event come in, rattle us, and bring us into this other dimension in this physical form right now. It won't happen. We would be annihilated. You're getting sick right now just from the ascension process that's taking a very slow time. We're all having these ascension symptoms, and look how long it's taking. Think about that. And you think there's going to be some sort of major catalytic event that's going to plop in and happen all of a sudden? When these messages come to the human, they're coming from a higher perspective. They're coming from a frequency and energy of a being that vibrates at a higher frequency. When that information comes in, it can get diluted. And the human that is bringing the information in can mix it up. Right? So they hear these words and they think it means this, and then they serve it in that way. So there's no event that's going to happen instantaneously where we're all of a sudden going to be jolted into some fourth or fifth dimension. And I'll ask you, if you believe that, what have you seen in the last 3, 4, 5 years on your process? Have you seen anything happen where boom, just like that, you're in a completely different dimension? Maybe for a moment, maybe for a day, maybe for a couple of weeks, but you get catapulted right back down into where your physical form is vibrating at. The physical form is the most important piece to all of this because it's coming along with us. We can't escape the physical form. It has to come with us. It's very dense. And there's no freaking event that's going to come down and happen all of a sudden, because it would have already, you guys. You don't think our beings that are supporting us, these divine, amazing family of light, your higher self, all these galactic guides that are around you, you don't think they'd want to catapult us faster if they could and create some sort of experience that would shift us? Realistically, if you just look at how physics works, just look at your physical form, how physics works, and how you've been shifting in the past year. Just let's look at the year. Pretty sure this is going to take some time. Be gentle on yourself. And shame on anyone that tells you that it can happen just like that, because that's not true. Because all that does is make you think there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. This is a miracle what's happening, and this takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of patience. And as time speeds up, which means our frequency is increasing, the aging process slows down. So you're going to be living for a lot longer. If you're 40, 40 is the new 10. If you're 50, 50 is the new 20. It's not really true. Those numbers aren't quite right. But we're going to live for a lot longer because time is speeding up. And when time speeds up, aging slows down. As you know, I can talk forever and ever and ever. But my point of this YouTube was to just give you an analogy, a vision of what's happening. because there are millions of us that are feeling like we're not doing it. There's millions of us that are feeling like there's something wrong with us. There's millions of people that are like, I've been in this space and now I'm back down here and it's not going back and forth anymore. You're not going back and forth anymore because you're on the bridge. Welcome to the bridge. You're on the bridge. And remember, the bridge is your physical body, what's the best word for this? Shaking off or getting rid of the dense consciousness as you get closer and closer, because you guys, the physical form can't hold any density that does not vibrate at a fourth dimensional consciousness. You cannot at all, no matter what, be in a fourth dimensional consciousness matrix or field if there is any aspect of you, mental, emotional, or physical, that is denser than a fourth dimension. Okay? So you're just clearing it out as you walk over that bridge. Hopefully this was useful. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you liked this video, please like it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get notifications of when new videos come up. If this resonated with you and you know of somebody that it would resonate with as well, or somebody that needs to hear it, please pass it along. That's how we get these messages across. This message sometimes isn't even for you. It's for somebody else that you know, right? That's how we work. And by the way, that's how you are of service. You know, we always think that we can be of service only if we are doing spiritual work, where we are, you know, doing some sort of work that is held in a spiritual container. And sometimes waking somebody up is sending them a YouTube video that's going to spark something, and all of a sudden they're going to be off on some journey, on some other tangent. And it's because you sent them something. That's doing work, right? That's being of service. Every day, how can I be of service? How can I be of service? I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here. All of you are miraculous beings of light that have chosen to be down in this physical form, to experience what it feels like for consciousness to shift in a physical form. And no matter what your reality looks like, no matter what it looks like, it's going to shift, it's going to change, and you did nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong that you did. Nothing. You're just in this experiment, moving through it with me and with everyone else watching this, and we're just holding on. I hope this helped. I love you all so much. Until the next video, take care of yourself, be gentle, love a little bit more of you, and remember what you're doing here. Remember who you are, aside from the third dimensional or fourth dimensional aspect of you. Okay, lots of love. Bye.